being a little off, okay? And so I'm going to do a very, very crude um, breakdown of how our brains work and what can be happening when we are experiencing this health challenge. But before I do that, let's pretend that this is, okay, so I don't know, I'm going to dump all this out, okay, because this is good. That's how we know that things are all shaking up. This is Daniel. Okay. Get his name back in here. Right, so here we go. Okay, this is your brain, right? This is the illustration. So imagine this is your brain, and man, you in your brain, your language is something you learn, right? Your language is something you learn. You also, that you should hold a fork and a spoon when you eat, right? Versus if you're born in another country, they may say, oh, you eat with your hands. Actually, that's what you do. And I experienced that. It was actually great. It seemed like I got fuller faster, honestly, from eating with my hands versus the fork and spoon. This is psychology, by the way, whatever. So there's different things, right? Your environment, right? Were your parents very loving and affectionate and everything? Or was your family like fighting all the time? You're constantly told you're not wanted, nobody cares about you. Why are you here? If it wasn't for you, I would have been something. Right? They're all going in there. But then there are also things that maybe we watch on television, going in there, right? Making some pathways, everybody say pathways, right? And so our brain has all these different pathways, and some pathways are stronger than others. So if you started learning how to speak Spanish, hola, ¿cómo estás? Me too. Ah, la paz es divertida. Okay, so you said? Sí, maybe. Right? You're like saying, if you don't practice the Spanish, that pathway starts to get, it's still there, it's always there, but it starts to get overgrown, and then you can't remember how to respond to como estás, right? You don't know how to respond anymore. Like, but I speak to them, okay, good. You know what I'm saying, right? So all that's in your brain. And man, sometimes our brains need a detox. Okay, so when we think about detoxing, that is so cool. I've been studying detoxing, and it's another issue that's controversial, right? But let's just go here for a minute. The idea of detox is that your body is full of toxins from the environment, what you ate, what you drank, or you didn't do anything. You're just alive when those toxins are coming in, and that sometimes your body needs to detox. Now, the detox is technically every day through your sweat, through your urine, when you go to the bathroom, have bowel movements. But sometimes people are like, man, I just can't sweat. No matter what I do, I'm not sweating. Or I only urinate once or twice a day. Problem, right? I have a bowel movement maybe once a week. Problem. No, this is real. This is real. This is real. Okay. Problem. Well, yeah, no, I have a bowel movement every day. Problem. Because guess what? You actually should have a bowel movement more than once a day. I didn't know that. I was sorry. You get what I'm saying? But at least once, right? So, wow. But what if your body was at a point of regulation where you were actually able to have more than one bowel movement a day? Things are normally healthy could happen. Okay, let's take it to the brain now. The idea of a detox says that, if I'm not detoxed, well, I'm not a physician, so there's physicians out there, you can correct me. Help me to understand this. When you are not detoxed, you need to detox, then the nutrition that you get from your food is not able to absorb well, right? You're not getting all the nutrients you could be getting from the apple or the banana or whatever, because there needs to be some cleansing. Okay, we're going to take that to, am I right on that, physician people that study detoxing? Okay, thank you, I see some yeses. Thank you for that. So now, mental health, here we go. Remember all that stuff that's in the brain, right? Isn't it true that our brain also needs to detox? This is why things like therapy and prayer exist. Some people think prayer is just about telling God how good he is, right? But prayer is a form of detox where I need to say what's going on, what's happening, and not just in a pretty way. Lord, I'm just going to recite your scriptures back to you. I'm not going to say nothing but the scriptures, right? God already knows his word. And he actually already knows your thoughts and feelings, but the reason that you need to say it so that you can identify, right? Because how can I do something about something I'm not aware of? I don't have any awareness of what's going on unless it comes out, right? I'm sorry, please allow me to get a little crude for a minute. When you go to the bathroom, you see what came out, and you're like, whoa, what happened here? You know, right? How do we know a person needs a detox just on a basic level? Maybe they always have gas, you know? You're like, oh man, right? Gas. Skin will tell you, right? Something's going on with the skin. Something's going on with the breath, right? How will your brain tell you? Well, how are those relationships doing? Right? How's your motivation? How's your response to things? How's your resilience? Right? It's telling us. And so I want to be able to share with you a brain detox, and I want my husband, if you can somehow figure out how to make this happen, where I can show them the brain detox. I know he's looking at me like, we didn't talk about it. But it means I know you're so amazing. You reach out to me. But if we can figure out a way to show them the brain detox before we leave, that would be awesome. And I'll look away and probably thinking, no, don't make eye contact. All right, but so detoxing, right? So I need some volunteers. We're going to look at why our wellness boxes are important. So I think I need about 3 volunteers. I might get up to 5. But do we have to, don't mind to come over here? You don't have to say anything, you only represent something, okay? So who's gonna come? I know you feel the conviction, like I need to go up here. All right, 5 people, 3 people. Okay. Are you feeling okay? Okay. Yes. 1. Yes, come. Yes, you can. Come on up. Just come up here and nice and high so people can see you. Okay. Look at my brain. My brain is awesome. Okay. So we may not use everybody, okay? We'll see. We'll figure it out. So this is very crude. There's so much to the brain, right?
Yeah, because I love brain study, brain research.
Good, perfect. So you have the perfect person. This is so good. Okay, so you all represent the brain. I'm going to say, Eden, can you stand? Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So you all represent parts of our brain and ways that our brain can function. And this is pervasive. There's a lot. I'm just boiling down a concept that I want you to see. Okay, there's so much more to this. But for the sake of our illustration, right, this is awesome, you are going to be the prefrontal cortex. What is he? The prefrontal cortex. There's so much to the prefrontal cortex, but for the sake of our illustration, this is our reasoning, right? People talk about the prefrontal cortex is how we talk to God, we relate to God, right? Our prefrontal cortex is going to be the person that notifies, like, hey, things are okay, right? Like send those messages, kind of the principal, right? The leader of the brain, so to speak. Okay. So then the next part that we have, and there's so much more than this, but you're our amygdala. Amygdala? You're the amygdala. So our amygdala, there's so many different parts of that as well, but for this illustration, fight or flight, right? Fight or flight responses, fight, flight, or freeze, as people will say, okay? So she is our amygdala. Then we have our nucleus accumbens. Can we say that? Yes, our nucleus accumbens is responsible for our pleasure center, like, that was good. That was very good, okay? So we've got our prefrontal cortex, we have got our, who are you, amygdala, we've got our nucleus accumbens, and then we have got, okay, you are going to be, for the sake of this illustration, you're going to be our limbic system. Let's make you be the limbic system, okay? okay? So the limbic system works in conjunction with our fight or flight, okay? It does, it works with our fight or flight, but it helps us as well when we talk about regulation, being regulated. Some people call the limbic part of our brain, which is in the back, they call it our primal brain, right? That's what you'll hear people say. And the sense that, hey, our senses, things are coming through our senses, right? Okay. And I think I'm gonna stop here for now. There's more parts that I can add, but I think I'll say you are gonna represent a stimulus, okay? So you come over here. And can you come over here for me? What's your name? What is your name again? Oh, that's right. You told me that earlier. I'm sorry. Nathaniel. Just what I want you to do. Okay.
You're gonna hear me.
I know that. Like here, and then you go that way. Okay, and this is it. So again, we talk about the brain, and the brain is responsible for, homeostasis in our body, making sure our body's working well, okay? But things can happen that damage the brain and cause us to respond the wrong way to things that are not necessarily need to be responded to that way. But for all intents and purposes, let's say our brain is working well, and they're about to get a stimulus, something's gonna happen. So, okay. Did y'all hear him?
No.
Say it again one more time.
Hey, there's a snake by your foot.
Whoa, good job. Thank you. Good job. Okay, thank you. So you stay because maybe we'll have another one. So imagine this. You're walking down the road and all of a sudden you see something black and slithering by your feet, right? What's gonna happen?
You jump.
Exactly. You're gonna jump, you're gonna run, you're gonna do something. Why is your brain doing that? Because the amygdala says, hey, you need to respond, right? Your senses, the limbic system is at work, right? Limbic system Eden is at work because, hey, something black slithering, right? Okay, and then here we go now. As you look, you run, and then you look back, like, what kind of snake was that? You look and see that, it's just a hose, white hose. It's not a snake at all. Guess who calms your body down? Yes, your prefrontal cortex is the one that says, hey guys, hey, calm down. It's just a rubber hose. It's not that deep. It's okay. It's just a rubber hose, okay? So now, if the body is doing well, if it's okay, if it's healthy, the body calms down. Ooh, that's funny. That's a rubber hose. I'm okay. But what happens when there's a trauma? If you experience a trauma, and who hasn't experienced trauma? I mean, the literal fact that we went through COVID was trauma, right? Even if you were okay, you never got sick, or you never had any kind of meltdowns or anything like that, there was still a collective trauma that happened with that illness, right? And so there's a trauma there. But trauma affects people in different ways. Some people, the effect is very minimal, and for others, it's very significant. And a lot of times, people don't know how the trauma is going to affect them until they're in a situation to realize they can affect it. Makes sense? And so now, what would happen if, let's say, there was a death in the family, right? And a person feels like that person died because it's my fault. And what do we say? I've been there, right? Didn't Mary say this to Jesus? You've been there, right? And we say it to ourselves, if I just would have called, if I just would have done something, right? Then we feel guilty, we feel like we're responsible, okay? So what can happen in the brain now is even though the prefrontal cortex is there trying to calm the body down, make sense and make reason, right? That, whether you've been called or not, if it was that person's time, it was that person's time. Maybe it would sound like that, I don't know what it would sound like. But now, because of that trauma, maybe that person instead, their amygdala keeps firing. And remember how I talked to you, I said that happened to my sister, and we just went on eating our cereal, but the amygdala is still firing. Whoa, that means that I'm getting hormones in my body, because it's not just happening in my brain. The brain is responsible for the whole body, right? Great illustration, I feel hungry, not because my tummy said it, but the brain told me, right? It looked at the hormones and the chemical levels in my blood and said, hey, you need to get some nutrition. Make the belly rumble, right? And so, but wait, if there's a trauma and it's unresolved and I'm having an issue, I may not be listening to the prefrontal cortex. My amygdala keeps firing, right? Which is causing me to have that stress hormone, those stress hormones, right? In my body. And because of that buildup of stress hormones, now it's throwing off my equilibrium, right? And I can actually start to get false conviction instead of a sense of pleasure. I can even start to have false conviction, right? That same part of your brain that keeps you from, doing the wrong thing in public, it can turn on you. Your brain can now actually start to give you a sense of false conviction, which is why you will start to feel like I'm no good, I'm worthless. Right? And this is happening on a physiological level, a chemical level, a hormonal level. And now our limbic system, that primal brain, is trying to keep us alive and trying to keep us protected, right? And so instead of thinking and reasoning, I'm acting from the limbic part of my brain. So what happens when you're a teacher and students get into a fight? Bam! They're fighting because that limbic part of the brain. What happens when the husband yells at the wife? Boom! I'm not thinking about how that's going to hurt her feelings and how this is going to cause a rift in the family. I'm in the primal, right? That person that's been raped, listen, right? That may not show up till later in their life. They're having problems, right? Because this can be going on from the time you're a kid. Your amygdala, your body's trying to go, hey, this issue that happened, thank you, Brian. I'm sorry, I'm standing up here. Thank you, Brian. Good job. There's more we could have done. Thank you so much. Right? That trauma, and this is why some people say, you know what, I'm just gonna let that go. But have you addressed maybe some of the underlying issues? And so when we think about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 box, why is it helpful? Because there are things in there that are going to help you calm the limbic brain, first of all, right? The limbic part of your brain, that primal part of your brain responds to the senses. So I can't come to Daniel, can I use an example? I cannot come to Daniel and be like, man, you just need to think about it. You just need to pray about it. Bible study. Limbic brain is in control right now. Those are the senses, right? What I need to do is what? I might need to rest, like God let Elijah do. He gave him food, that was something he could taste. This is what happens when we're grounding. In this box, they have things that you can, what are 5 things you can see, right? And people do it different ways. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can smell, 2 things, all those different parts. They have it in different ways, but this is why it works. Okay? Because it's helping your limbic brain to calm down. Calm down. And now once my limbic brain, for lack of a better way to put it, very primitive way, for lack of a better way to put it, when my limbic brain calms down, now my prefrontal cortex can kick up. Does that make sense? Now I can reason, make a plan, make a judgment, and actually listen to it. And it's all happening so fast on a chemical level, and even, it's happening way faster than I'm even explaining. Right? There's so much more happening. And so consider this. Consider that, how people say it's a bad time to talk to somebody when they're tired. Right? We're going to have this conversation after you've gotten some sleep. Right? We're going to have this conversation after you eat some good food. Right? And, they even do it with kids when you think about it. Calming down a child, they can play music, sing, calm down that limbic brain. Because the kid may not understand, Mommy loves you, stop crying, stop crying. No, it's actually making it worse. Does that make sense? So, I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments about that. I want to go into demon possession, and then we have one more thing. Any questions about what you've heard so far? Is this making sense? When you think about like how you're going to help somebody work with someone? Yes, question number 4.
The new side program. The new side program. At what stage in a mental illness do you think it will be effective?
It's good. Thank you for asking that. So it can be effective at every stage, but now thank you. That reminds me that let's talk about crisis now. A new start can be helpful at every stage, but remember we have to. It depends on the situation and what's going on. So let's go into a situation now where we have a person who is suicidal. Let's say that we have a male and he is suicidal, right? You've been seeing signs and symptoms that this person, things are not quite right for them. You think about the word impact. Even if you don't remember all the symptoms and all the signs, right? Like think about impact. How is this person showing up in their daily life? Is the way they usually show up different? And is it significant? Is it affecting their thinking, reasoning? Is it affecting what they do or not do, right? Okay, so you're seeing impact. This person, you see them say, you do your assessment, and the person says, man, I just wish I didn't have to be here. I just wish I didn't have to be here. Okay, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? Hey, let's go for a walk. Can we go for a walk? And talk about this. Didn't we just do New Start, right? Because we're in the fresh air, we're in the sunshine, we're getting exercise, not walking. And they're in crisis because they said, I don't want to be here. And anytime a person says things like, I don't want to be here, I just wish I didn't have to wake up anymore, or I want to kill myself, or I want to kill somebody else, we can understand that we have entered into crisis mode. So our goal is not necessarily to connect to a primary care physician, it is to connect them to a crisis resource as soon as we can, but we want to do it in a smooth way that doesn't cause more stress, drama to the situation, right? So, and sometimes it's unavoidable, right? But our minds are thinking about, okay, this person says I don't want to be here, let's go take a walk. We're in sunshine, we're in fresh air, we're having exercise, now they're getting a chance to talk, which is awesome, right? And you ask them, you do your assessment, and you say, when you say you don't want to be here, can you talk to me more about that? Can you tell me like what you mean? Oh, I don't mean anything. I just mean just like I said, I don't want to be here, you know? This person doesn't like me, and so-and-so talks about me behind my back, and you know, at my job, everything's just going wrong, nothing's going right, and I just feel like, you know, I just wish I didn't have to wake up. And isn't that's spiritual warfare, right? When Satan, you can know it's spiritual warfare, one thing after another. Remember how he attacked Job, right? One thing after another. Oh, this is spiritual warfare happening right now. Okay, so wow, thank you so much for telling me. Give reassurance and information, right? You're listening without judgment. You ask them about the question. When you say you don't want to be here, what do you mean? You're getting more information. And now you're going to ask them as part of your assessment. These are very key components. And that is, when you say you don't want to be here, what do you mean? Have you thought about how are you thinking about killing yourself? And you just flat out ask the question, right? You just ask it. When you say you don't want to be here, are you thinking about killing yourself? And it's better for the person to say, no, I never do that. Then, you know, maybe they'll just get quiet. They may not even answer you. They may just get quiet. Or they may say, no, I don't want to do that. But you can go further. Have you thought about how you would do something like that? Oh, I just drive my car off a bridge. I don't know, I got a gun. There you go. Whoa, so this person has a plan. I'll drive my car off a bridge. I just take a bunch of pills. I've got a gun. Right? That means they're serious. This is determining how serious that person is and asking your assessment. You're seeing that this person is very serious about what they're going to do. Right? Have you thought about when you would actually do something like this? Just know I'm gonna be here come my next birthday. That's all I can tell you. That's a time frame, right? Now, I saw some hands go up, so I wanted to, there's more I want to add to this, but I saw hands go up, so I didn't want to miss those specific questions or comments. Okay. Okay. Yes, please, thank you.
There's a difference between a suicidal ideation and a gesture.
Yes.
So the difference is this because that thought crosses your mind doesn't mean you feed into it. When you have the gesture, that means it's like you said earlier, you got some plans, you got some ideas, you thought about how would I do it? Like, for example, people I've worked with for years who actually made a list of how they would do it. They would say, well, I would use pills, or I would go old-fashioned
Right.
myself, or, like you said, the bridge thing. That's when you know the crisis is to the next level.
Yeah.
Just because a person is thinking or it crosses the mind, doesn't mean they necessarily feed into it, because how many times we as just human beings have a negative thought across your mind, and you just never you left it alone.
Yes.
But if you feed into it and they come into it, that's the difference between the ideation and the gesture.
Thank you, and I wanted to just highlight, when he's saying feed in, correct me if I'm, to make sure that we're hearing you right, when he's saying feed into it, he's saying that person has a plan, they have more. So it wasn't just, oh, I just drive my Crawford Bridge. I drive my Crawford Bridge and I'm not gonna be here by my next birthday. You see what I'm saying? That's that feed-in. There goes that more information that, hey, this person has not only just thought about suicide, but they're planning it. Does that make sense? We're hearing you, we're tracking, right? Got you. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Following up with the Youth Life program, does it mental health, does it take in drugs? Yes, okay. Does it, the mental health treatment, does it involve any form of drugs?
Are you asking that if a person is having a mental health issue or illness?
Are
That-
you going to therapy?
I don't think I understand your question.
If I'm getting help, if I'm coming for counseling or anything like that, at any stage in my treatment, does it include any form of drug?
Okay, got you. Yes, okay, can I stick a pin in that just for a second? Coming back to that about medication, but what I wanna just tie off, when we're talking about our assessment and a person being suicidal. So remember, that person has a plan now, right? We understand that they're not just thinking about it casually like all people do. Thank you for normalizing that, because it's true. All people think about, you know what, if I have to wake up another day, that'd be fine. You know, but now it's deeper. I've planned something. I have the means to do it. Am I using substances, which makes it another critical standpoint, right? I know, remember, your friend have hidden up the marijuana, right? So they're doing drugs. They have something going on. This makes them more in crisis. What do you want to do now? We want to connect them to professional health aid staff. That's what we want to do. And we have options. Remember, we always have options. Isn't that wonderful? So we have options. That 988, remember that number? We can use that. We can say, you know what? This is really serious. I can see that you're in a lot of pain. This is really serious. You know what? Can we call this number that I learned about and see how they would advise us? Because sometimes you may not be able to say, you need to go to the hospital, because that person says, no, I'm good, and disappear, right? I'm good, right? But if we can get a professional involved in a smooth way, 988 might be able to help that person say, you know what, take me to the hospital. You may not be able to do it, but calling 988 can. Sometimes though, we actually need to call 911. But if you're gonna have to call 911, this is what I want you to do. Ask your 911, do they have mobile crisis? Do they have mobile crisis that can come with it? You can say, you know what? My friend said they want to kill themselves. They talked about they have a gun, and you know, they wouldn't let me take them to the hospital or anything like that. Can you come here? And do you have mobile crisis? We need a mobile crisis unit to come, or somebody that works with people who are battling with a mental illness. You can request that, you see? And hopefully, here in South Carolina, they have people, at least they're aware, so they're gonna deal with the situation differently.
and not send the police.
Hopefully,
We-
right?
Well, let me clarify that a little bit.
yes, because you're, how it works here.
Here's my youth experience and how
Yes.
officers' prices is set up here in South Carolina.
Oh.
But how local prices works here for South Carolina Department of Health is that it's a collaboration
Yes.
with, those officers who are trained
Yes,
in mental health, as well as the clinician who comes out who's trained.
yes.
Like, let's use that same scenario. You would call it, it's an 833 number we have, it's listed. They will come out to your home,
Yes,
whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or 12 in the day, whatever. They will literally come out and condition, along with, law enforcement officer will be present with them, but the officer will not, whatever it is, they just on standby.
right,
So what happens that individual clinician will talk, and then how the process works, say they have that conversation, and they notice that, hey, something is not right, they have the authority to make a call to the probate judge and fill out the paperwork to actually get you involuntary committed, and then law enforcement will take you to a local hospital in which they'll find you committed.
thank you for outlining that, which is, sounds scary, right? It can sound really scary, and I do see some hands on the floor, so we're gonna try to get to those hands. It can sound really scary, but this is a principle that we talk about in mental health first aid, and I really hope you'll really consider taking the class, because this is just scratching the surface what we're talking about. There's so much more in the training that you learn how to do in terms of application. Does that make sense? That would be so helpful for you. Even when it comes to a person that's having hallucinations of some sort, auditory
Or visual.
Thank you, visual or auditory hallucinations, right? You learn how to actually work with that person. You learn why they're having that and why they could be having that. And you also learn what it's actually like to have it. So you can understand that when you're talking to that person directly who it is. And I'm seeing your hands here. I see them. I'm collecting hands. So let me just hurry up and say this. So just always know that with your professional resources, I don't want you to come to the conclusion like, oh, they call the police? No, I'm not going to use that. I want you to think like this. Our goal is to live to see another day. Help that person to live to see another day. That's our whole goal. Okay? And so caregivers or whoever, even yourself, myself, my goal is to live to see another day. How am I going to be able to do that? Because suicidal ideation, suicidal plans, oftentimes within 72 hours, that person can be okay. They may be at higher risk, and we're going to keep our eye on them for the next 3 to 6 months, right? Right? Because once they've been in that situation, they're still at a high risk for suicide, but live to see another day. So that's what I want you to be thinking about when we're starting to talk about being authorities and stuff involved. Now, I'm coming back to your question about medication, but are the hands that are up about this scenario that we're talking about, or these are other questions? Is yours an other question?
Related.
It's related? Okay, yes. Okay, so then we have Kamar, and then our elder, and then Daniel here. Okay, yes, sir.
Alright, it's related, but stemming from the video that you have shown earlier, two-part questions. So this person telling me good morning every day, see okay. What behavior trait could you have missed from such a person behind that mask? What is it? Is there any telling sign that this person could have been displaying something that I'm going to commit suicide and I missed it? And then part two, you're that person who are going through your daily stresses every day, right? And this happened, you miss those markers. How do you prevent yourself from feeling guilty and possibly getting depressed because that person did themselves?
Those are excellent questions. Okay, so one, the person in the video, good morning, and then he died by suicide, right? One thing we should know is that suicide, people who decide to die by suicide often do give clues, but they may not be giving them to you. So this is a huge principle that we want to remember. Once a person chooses to die by suicide, it was their choice to make. Just like it was your choice to come here today, you got invited, you saw the thing, somebody talked to you maybe, you remember some of you invited people, you invited them, you told them about it, you did the best that you could to get them here, but at the end of the day, it was their decision alone to make, whether or not they would come or not. You can do everything you want, but once a person has made up their mind that this is what they're going to do, that is their decision, it's their free will, and therefore, we don't need to feel that we are responsible for the decisions of other people. I'm only responsible for my decision. I'm only responsible for what I did or did not do. But whatever you choose to do, based on what I did or did not do, is still ultimately yours. And that's why, right, God is holding each and every individual accountable for their own lives. Does that make sense? And it's just really murky to talk about whether or not a person that dies by suicide, what happens to their soul and all that. We're not gonna go there at all. But what we can say is that that person's ultimately responsible, whether you did something or you didn't. How will I know if a person who seems so happy-go-lucky and jolly all the time is really genuine? You honestly can't really know unless you investigate, you assess. Like, hey, man, you're so happy all the time. How are things going on in your life, man? I just appreciate your joy. Like, how are you doing? You know? And that's where they might actually say, yeah, you know, actually. Or they may not. And they may still die by suicide. But again, that was their choice to make. You talked about feeling guilty. I believe that guilt is something that you wouldn't be able to avoid, but you can know that there's something called unnecessary guilt, right? It's a guilt that comes, we feel guilty for something that we're not responsible for, right? It's a guilt that we may have, but that guilt doesn't belong to us. You know, like I remember when I had a family member die by suicide, I felt so guilty, like I should have called them, it'd been on my heart to call them, I should have called, if I had called them, this wouldn't have happened, but that's not true. That's not true. Why is it not true? Because it's their decision. You know, like somebody could say, well, maybe if you called them, they would have felt better. Maybe. But that, to feel better is actually your own decision. Did you know that? Because I can call you, and if you don't feel like being bothered, guess what? You know what I'm saying?
Or you don't answer at all.
I know, it's
not
not
right.
How many people you try to tickle them if they don't feel like being tickled? You know what I'm saying? Whether or not you choose, your happiness is way more in your control than anybody else's, right? This is not a stigmatism. This is not to come at anybody that battles with depression. I truly believe it's an illness, and I believe that, you know, there's research, and I dare you to go out and look it up, that says that a person who dies by suicide is considered to be at a level 4 or stage 4 in their illness. So when you think about stage 4 cancer, stage 4 says you're at the end, right? Like there's the doctor says there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. Your organs have so failed that that's it. And that's what when we're talking about suicide, that's what some of the research is saying. That organ, the brain, and so the way I'm processing, you're gonna hold me accountable for processing disease. My brain is diseased. Am I still asking the heart to pump when it's dead? Right? They cut off the defibrillator. It's done. Oh, it's done. Controversial stuff. But now there's questions on the floor. I saw our elder, then there's Daniel, and then our pastor.
No, I have a comment regarding that. Because,
Oh, sorry.
no, I don't mean to cut in line, but what I wanted to say, one thing that you said was important. All of it was important, but forgive me if I'm misusing the term masking. So in a sense, you know, you think of someone who's putting on a face, pretending to be happy, pretending to be, but when someone's wearing a mask, how thin is the mask? You know, sometimes it can be, you know, fairly thick, it can be, people can be fairly defensive, but a lot of times it's not far underneath the surface. So assessing someone, you know, if you just say, hi, good morning, and they say, hi, good morning, that doesn't really tell you what's going on in their life. But going a little deeper is like, you know, how's your week been? What's going on with you? What's going a little further, a little deeper, a little more? Because a lot of times, as you're going into those conversations, these red flags, these signs that something deeper is going on, come up. Like our sister said, we can't put that guilt on ourselves and say, if only I would have, because unfortunately, guilt's purpose is to help us to address an error in our mistake. And if we address it, then we don't need to be torturing ourselves. Satan tortures us with guilt. God leads us to guilt in order for us to redeem something out of it, something we can learn from it or grow from it. But once we gain that, it's not profitable for us to continue to feel guilty and torture ourselves with thoughts of things that we cannot control. So we need to limit guilt. Guilt has its place, and then as soon as it accomplishes its goal, now it's being used by Satan to torture us, to make us feel terrible for things that were outside of our control. And we need to limit the guilt in our life for things that we are in control of. If I was in control of something and I need to repent from that and change my ways, that's what guilt is for. But once it's something out of my control and I'm just thinking about all the things I would have done differently, then it's a tool of Satan to torture us. But the most important thing I want to say is that asking deeper questions may help us to see some of the red flags that we wouldn't have seen if we just go through our lives saying hi, bye, hello, how's your week? And we don't actually listen to people. Very few people are going to answer you, oh, I'm having a terrible week and I'm thinking about committing suicide. Very few people are going to say that. Most of the time, to find someone who's really struggling, you have to go through the surface. So you have to go beyond the regular questions and you have to be listening. That tool of assessment will make a big difference when it comes to seeing things that you wouldn't have seen if you wouldn't have asked that next question. If you just say hi, fine, but then I ask, tell me about your week, tell me what's going on, and then these flags come up, then I can start to see there's something beyond that mask that people are wearing. And that may help, but ultimately, that person has that responsibility, and we can only do what we can in our part.
Very well said, very well said. Algae works best with people that you know. It is coming to you. Algae, as the microphone is coming to our elder, algae actually is going to work the best with people you know. It's not going to be the person in the street that you don't know. It's the person in your house. It's the person in your family, right? It's the person in your job or in your classroom. But very well said, Pastor, and our elder, you said you want to bring something.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jack. So you observe that this fellow, or this person is concealing the reality. You discern this as covering it or concealing it. And what might be the best approach in this part of the Pastor just mentioned, part of the question about past. You discern this, that a person is concealing the reality, his real intent. So how would would you suggest the best approach to try to curb this?
Awesome, thank you. And so I want to highlight something Pastor was saying that is so key. Responsibility, right? Responsibility. Knowing our responsibility is important. So as a person who becomes a mental health first aider, because that's kind of what you're doing right now, right? And you're going to take the training and get more. Your responsibility is that if you see someone that's having an issue, that you respond. You respond by using one of these. But guess what? And this is going along with Kamar's question also. And this is so big. But understand that you may not always be the person that a person is going to respond to. So if they're giving you a fake reality, which is what you're asking, what do I do? You know there's still a problem there, right? You can smell it, you can see it, there's a problem, there's a false reality. Okay, they aren't responding to me. Who am I gonna get that they might like, right? Maybe there's a cousin, maybe there's a friend, maybe there's someone else. Hey, Mia, man, I try to have this conversation with my cousin. I'm not saying me specifically. Daniel, I try to have this conversation with my cousin, and they are not listening to me, but I know something's going on. And I know they like you. They always talk about you. Do you think you could just give them a call for me? Just call them and see how they're doing. Don't tell them I told you to call, right? Well, I mean, you wrestle with that with God, but you know what I'm saying? Just call them for me. You see, so this is one way we can go about it. Because that person, they already have feelings about you, so they're not gonna open up, right? But you know who they like, you know who they trust. Back to responsibility, something Pastor was saying. Responsibility, we have to keep our responsibility with us. I am responsible for my own emotions. That was huge for me. Anybody that battles with mental health, sometimes I was blaming my parents. I was blaming the people that abducted my sister. I'm blaming them for this and this and this. But at the end of the day, I'm actually responsible. They're responsible for their actions. I'm responsible for what I'm going to do now. I'm the one who has the power to heal or to not heal. I have it. I'm responsible. My spouse, my husband is not responsible for me to be okay. I'm the one who has to make a decision. He can encourage me, he can invite me, he can support me, and that's what you're learning to do here. I'm learning how to be a supportive person. I'm not going to be judgmental. I'm going to give reassurance and information. I'm going to encourage appropriate professional help, but I'm not going to take your power of choice. I'm not going to take your pill. And that goes back to your earlier question, Pastor, that you talked about, like, what do I do when this person is doing things that's harming themselves, right? So if they're in a crisis type of situation of harm, then we call in the professional counselor type people. Like, hey, what do you think if we call this number together, right? But if they're doing harm that's gonna be long-term, drinking, right, which could be shorter than later, right? Then at the end of the day, we have to remember that principle also. Because a person that doesn't want help doesn't want it. Okay, and they won't receive, the detox needs to happen before they can receive it. Man, that's such a good point. There's more to say. Thank you for saying that. Okay, you had something.
Yeah, so I want to ask, what about the person that you're not able to talk to people, right? It's hard to ask questions, it's hard to get to the people root. I don't know how to form that relationship, but I see what's going on. I want to help them, but I don't know how to talk to get to the people. So what do I do?
Right, so so just repeating what you're saying, and we're still coming back to your question about medication, okay? So don't think I forgot about you, because I didn't forget about the medication question. So, when I see that I don't have the tools, I find who does. That's how I would deal with that. If I know that, you know what, I'm gonna be judging them, or I just can't find the words, I'm actually scared if they tell me that they want to die by suicide. I'm not ready for that. But I do see you need help. I'm gonna find you help. So I want you to think about, who do you know? Or what resources, that paper that you got here, can help you help that person. And even if you call them and you say just that, listen, I've got somebody in my life, and I don't know how to help them, I don't know how to talk to them, I don't know how to have a conversation with them, I honestly don't even get them, but I see there's a problem and I want to do something. What would you suggest? Helpline, hotline, da-da-da. They can talk to you. Or someone in your circle of influence. God has given all of us people. He said, I will give people for your life. There's someone that can do that job that you may not feel comfortable doing. Does that make sense? Okay, she brought up medication. So just going all the way back to your question, you were asking how, it seems like your question was New Start versus medication. Is that about right? Like,
My question was, is medication a part of the treatment?
is medication a part of treatment for mental illnesses? Okay, got you. So this is right, and so did you want to talk about that?
But I got
Okay,
it necessarily doesn't mean you have to have that.
right.
I know my years experience, I've actually counseled people without medicine. And actually the counseling was sometimes better than the medicine.
Yeah.
Because the Bible clear, very hard to do the medicine. So sometimes having a person who's neutral, who has no judgment, no skin in the game, as they say, and just hearing you out and giving you the techniques for you to learn the skills to be a better person.
Right, awesome. Did you want to say something about that, Sister Nate? I didn't know if you wanted,
I just wanted to say that if your doctor indicates that medication is beneficial for you, take medicine until you get stable. Once you're stable, your doctor knows that, and they will send you to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist will do a thorough assessment, and they don't just throw out these medications all, just willy-nilly. They don't. But there are people that are seeing and hearing things, and that they're spending their families into bankruptcy because of mental illness. They need those medications. Some of the mental illness feels so good that they don't want the medications. But when you're on the medication, your life can be normal because of chemical imbalances.
So this is a heated one, right? Like, this is very controversial, and I'll just throw my 2 cents into it because, definitely I've worked at different places and I've been around different people as they have, and there are some people that the medication they get on and they actually get worse, and they've done better to not take it. And there are people who believe that the medication is going to harm them with all their heart, and they don't take it, and next thing you know, they die of suicide. Right? So I really agree with what they both have said. However, if your doctor tells you that you need medication, I invite you to ask more questions. You're saying that I need medication, doctor. Why are you saying that? What did you see in my blood work? What did my labs tell you about my hormones that suggest that I need medication? Can you just make that a little bit more clear to me? Because I respect what you're saying. You're a physician, you've studied. But can you explain to me what in my hormones is causing you to say that you believe I need medication? Because sometimes in America, we are over-medicated, right? It's just, okay, get on my face. Okay, not get on my face. But some people, that's the fastest thing to do. Bam, here was medicine. Here's another thing. If you're going to be on medication, because now it makes sense, based on your labs and your blood work, that makes sense, I need medication. I love the principle that she brought out. Some people, or they both brought out, they'll have to be on it the rest of your life. This may be for a season. Also, if you're going to have to take medication, please understand that you shouldn't just take medication, but also get the other therapies that are going to help you with your recovery. Because some medication only treats symptoms, but it does not heal you. Does that make sense? And God knows He can heal us. Now, she brought in something else that they both did. Some people, remember, born in sin, shaped in iniquity. What if your brain is just not going to make that chemical? It's just not, right? If I was born with only one arm, I need a prosthesis or to learn how to have one arm, right? They give me a fake arm, but it's not the arm that I would have had if I was born with it. And that can be the case for some people with their mental health, that your brain just doesn't do it. It just doesn't. And so you need that medication because otherwise you're not going to have the quality of life.
And that's not your primary care. You need to see a specialist, an endocrinologist that will actually do a full panel and study the chemicals that are in your body. And if there's your thyroid and you have to have your thyroid removed, now you need to take Synthroid to replace that. So I just can't say be resistant to medications because of that. It does have a good place in your body.
And I love that you said that too. And I know we're coming to the end, right? And I hate that. But I see some questions. We're going to get questions answered. I really want to talk about this demon possession thing, okay? Y'all give me like 2 seconds to talk about that really fast. But that's true. Like, for some people, maybe you weren't born with a mental illness, but we're living in a sinful world, and so much there can be things that happen to you that your body doesn't work the way it used to. Makes sense, and so you may need assistance. But I love that New Start, do therapy, do Medicaid, do all of the things, right? And then start to take away whatever can be taken away, if that makes sense.
Yes, she had a question right here.
Yes, Victor, please bring up the brain detox for me. And who had a question, sorry? Was that you?
She has a question.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
This is not really a question, it's just something to add on to the whole issue of mental health.
Okay.
During that time, we're talking to persons with mental health. I think we should really get to the root, because some mental health don't cause through like mental sickness. It's just a case like, example, I don't have shoes to wear. Do you understand that? Get to you. So I think
Beautiful.
we should detect the problem and try to mend it. You don't have a shoes to wear, I can do the shoes to wear.
We'll take you over to Act, get you.
Right, and
You have
I
accountability?
don't mind, or I don't have something to eat, get that person something to eat. My family might be there bothering me, get that person out of the situation. I might have a lot of bills to pay and all of that causes mental health too. As a caretaker, you assist as much as possible. These
That's
are
beautiful.
things
That's beautiful. I love what you're saying because that goes into the assessment,
that-
right? That's just like how we were saying earlier, oh, you're constipated. You haven't done enough assessment, right? Maybe I am down because I need a job, and when I get a job, I'll be just fine. Okay.
Does the Wildwood Lifestyle Center, do they give medication or what are the different therapies that they use to be able to help someone who's dealing with mental health issues?
Thank you. So because I no longer work at the Wildwood Lifestyle Center as a volunteer, right? I have my own organization. I am not, I'm gonna say authorized really to talk deeply about what they offer. What I can say is that their programs have helped thousands of people and has been very effective. And they do have physicians that do know how to prescribe if necessary. For different things. I don't know, I can't say specifically what, but they also have mental health practitioners, lifestyle coaches, and things of that nature. They do a holistic plan on how they help people, and it is amazing. It is good, it's great. And some of you are gonna create your own systems of wellness like that, you know? And so, yeah, that's what I can say about Wildwood.
And a psychiatrist is an MP.
Please let me point you to this really fast. This is something that you can do on your own. It's called the brain detox. Remember we started off talking about a detox? How sometimes things aren't gonna work unless if they're impacted, if there needs to be a cleansing, right? And you can do this type of detox for your brain. So I just want to bring your attention to it. And then in closing, because I know you guys are tired, thank you for hanging in there, and I hope this has been really helpful. But what I want to just end is the demon possession part. One thing that we need to do as believers and people of God, and this is really short note that I want to say about this, is we need to be careful not to be the friends of Job, right? That's what I can say. We need to be careful not to be the friends of Job in the sense that they were misdiagnosing his problem, right? So I personally, and this is my personal belief that I'm sharing with you as it pertains to mental health and demon possessions, my personal opinion, this is Mia's opinion. You get to pray, study, read. But I'm sharing this from observation as a missionary for over 15 years, over 12 countries, also studying mental health, also being a person's lived experience. This is how I'm now sharing my opinion with you based on these things. From my observation, I have seen that there is a difference between demon possession and mental illness, okay? Two different things, they can be happening comorbidity, which means two things happening at the same time, right? So I can have hypertension and diabetes, right? I can have a mental illness and be demon possessed, but I don't have to be demon possessed because I have a mental illness. Do you see the difference? Okay, because the illness can be an illness that's happening to me, but I love Jesus with all my heart. Like the veteran that was in the behavioral health hospital with me, he was pointing me to Christ, right? To Jesus. There are people, because Satan is an opportunist, right? He like, when you're down, here I come, that perhaps are now more available to Satan because of their illness, right? But we've all seen Satan be removed from people. Satan can be removed from you, but not my mental illness, thorn in the flesh, right? Like, maybe I have both things happening. I'm possessed and, right? But now I have mental illness and I love Jesus with my heart. And now I just love Jesus with my heart and I find healed, right? Can happen. So I just want to invite you to consider that. Because if you label a person or a situation as straight up demon possession, that's what that is, how's that person gonna get help? They're not gonna get help, it's gonna be like this thing where I'm not getting help. And I can be relieved from demons too, because I've seen that in the mission field. We literally saw people, demons come out of them. Here's my witness. On video, got it. We saw it with our own eyes. Demons come out of people. Here's the principle, right? Can salt water and fresh come out at the same time? The Bible talks about that, right? Right? So I can be having a physical problem, mental problem, but I'm giving glory to God. I'm seeking God. I love God. I want to be with God. And even in my case, I didn't want to be with God. And I was angry with God. I was frustrated with God. But honestly, I was not demon possessed. I was a person who was confused and broken and hurting. I had trauma, unresolved trauma, and I had a mental health problem. And I happened to be a Christian and didn't think she was a Christian anymore because I was unaware of this mental health thing. So I thought that Satan had me, but that was not true. Amen. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Welcome back. The big girl was too long. She didn't have a security. But let us pray to close. And up here, if you're interested in the brain detox, you can go to our website, and it'll be a 21-day thing that you can literally download on your computer for free. Is that right? Am I saying the right thing? Okay. And then also, if you're interested in other programs that KOAC does, or you want to actually take the mental first aid training, the training is $150, okay? And it is a certification that lasts for 3 years. 3 years. And I want you to know that if you want to do it and you want to get other people to do it, you can become an affiliate. So right now we have this thing where if you take the course with us, if you get 5 people, basically your course will be free. Does that make sense? Or even if you don't want it to be free, we're giving $25 for every person. So let's pretend that, did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. That if Daniel got 10 people, 25 times 10 is, you see how that works? Okay, so I'll just close it there. But anyway, thank you. Yes, sir. You'll be our last one.
Where is the course at?
Right, thank you for asking that. So there are multiple ways that you can take it. We're working with Pastor Rojas to actually have a physical course here. And then for some of you who may have traveled, you're like, well, I don't know if I can come back here. We also do it virtually as well. So we're in communication about that. So you can take it online with us, or you can take it here at the church, and that's how we organize.
If you are local, please let us know so that, wait for us to get it together, because we'll get it together, we'll plan it out.
Yeah.
But if you're not local, don't worry, there's a place to connect. But if you are and you want to participate, just know that if you wait with us, then we'll all do it together and we'll have it. Just be patient and let me know that you're wanting to have it. So.
It'll be excellent. It'll be so good. People who take it before they love it, they drink. Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor Rojas. Thank you for the Wilson. Thank you, Andrea, for your wonderful work in helping us get our paperwork done, right? Also for our AV team and our food people. The food is so good, potluck, all of that. Thank you for your participation and your questions. And I'm just going to hang out here on the front row. So if you have a question that didn't need to get answered or you feel like you still want more information, now I'll just be right here for a few moments if you wanted to ask me something. But we can close in prayer. I'm going to let Pastor do that first.
Before we close, I heard it. So apparently the rule is you have to have the last name Wilson. So let's see. I'm gonna do it myself this time because it's far away. Okay, let's see here. Close my eyes and pick one from the bottom.
Andrea Wilson.
There's a brother Wilson right there.
So I'm not gonna. This person is not here right now. So it's sad, but that was the rule. You have to be here.
Be thankful that it's not the Wilson because
It's not. He was right away. Not a Wilson, but it's a person who was here earlier and is no longer here. So.
it's getting closer again.
Divine vessel. you are, you got the drink. So I think maybe you'd like to share with some of your friends. We have chocolate and all kinds of cookies. Congratulations. So thank you all so much for your patience. And obviously, what we're learning here is the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more for us to discover, for us to study, and I hope that everyone feels like we've gained something, that we've learned to improve. But I know that basically this is the equivalent of learning that you have a lot left to learn, and realizing that there's a lot that goes into what we can do to serve our community in regards to mental health. There are so many people, 1 out of 5 people, and as brothers and sisters in Christ, there's a lot that we can do, even if it's just to point them, is to be the person that points them to the right person. So be prayerful, be observant, and let us be that blessing, because you don't know if because of that observance, because of that awareness, it allows you to be the right place at the right time to help a person in need. So keep that in prayer, and I hope that we will continue in our learning. We have our next mental health event next month in August with my brother Andre. So we will be continuing to keep an eye out, because hopefully, ideally, we will be having these events close to once a month. So, Lord willing, we will have more in the next few months, and hopefully our sister Nita will be here soon. Before you know it, she'll be back. So thank you all for coming and for sharing with us. Let's close with prayer. Dear Lord, I know that you have a great plan for us. I know that you are going to bless us, and through this time that we spend, through the knowledge that we gain, I pray that this will be part of a blessing that we can share with, not just with others, but also in ourselves, that as we struggle with mental illness, as we see the people around us struggle with mental illness, that now that we've had this training, we may be a blessing and be able to follow your plan for our lives and find freedom from mental illness. May this blessing be upon all of us who are listening, and those who are virtual, that everyone who has being a part of this program may learn and grow and ultimately be a blessing to those around. I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. God bless. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.